knew that Virgil wasn't a possibility, but it just seemed like the right name, and I went with it. But there's one aspect of these books that is approachable, and that's the concept of heaven and hell. And everyone, I think, from whatever religious background they come from, has that feeling about, I guess heaven is a sense of duty, and hell is kind of what you need behind to pursue that duty. And I go to a lot of AA meetings because I'm an alcoholic, and I talk a lot about these books, and it's great because Rick Moody wrote this book recently called Hotels of North America about a very strange guy named Reginald Edward Morse who travels around the world, but he sort of has the philosophy of AA interwoven inside of his hotel reviews. And so it's kind of the same thing with these books that even if people haven't read them, there's always this weird sense that they're reading it with me, even if they don't have a copy. They usually know what I'm talking about, or they'll say something that's happening in the text, and it'll just influence my reading, and I'll start feeling like everyone is like right outside my head and just looking at the page with me, even if they don't know it. But the question I had after that, the tiger that was at the second volume, front and back, it started to become a little more visible, literally disappeared into this pale blue haze with whales or orcas or something. And I was wondering, is this something Jing did that sent us to the bottom of the ocean? So, I talked a lot right now, but that was the general question.
It's a good question. The starting point of the question was, how do we talk about this book? And then you began to answer that question, because it is complicated to talk about something with many parts, but that's also the practice, right? Because we live in a world where we have to talk about multiple parts. And then you got specific, and that's great too, but you didn't want to get to the specific question because you knew that I wasn't going to answer the specific question. And you're like, this sort of sucks, but yeah, and I think that there is, I think it was lovely to share that you were in AA, because there is a quality to this work, which I'm seeing now, that is very intimate. Like all the characters, from how Esther is dealing with her toilet seat, or how she feels that where her friend is having her the romantic episodes is just disgusting, even though there's part of her that's like also denying how exciting it is that there's an animal trainer in her friend's life, It's all kind of, about a kind of openness that can be sort of frightening. But good luck with the end papers. They are important, and I still have 24 books left, so I would say you're on the right track. Yes. Sorry.
Each of your books is so completely unique and different. So my question is, how does your process for each book, how has it differed between each book that you've written, and then on top of that, which process of which book have you enjoyed yourself writing the most?
So what is my process? Because the books are all different, and do I have a favorite one? Well, one of my favorite quotes is by the haikuist Basho, who was writing at the time that Shakespeare was writing. And his minimal example is a great counterpoint to what Western literature can look like. And he said, avoid adjectives of scale, i.e. like better or worse or favorite or not favorite. You will desire the world less, and you will love it more. So that means is the whole thumbs up or thumbs down, or it's awesome. You're really not giving anything to anyone, right? You're just kind of stoking their desire, their envy, their whatever it is. But if you say, oh, there's this amazing moment where these two blueberries are sitting on the edge of a plate, and suddenly something jars the plate that we can't see, and they kind of roll down the plate together. Like, you've had a meal right there. So the process is about living. It's about recognizing that how you live your life and how the direction you move, the mistakes you make, the relationships at work that don't, is part of every book. So I just want to reflect those changes that are going on in me, and I was in my late teens, early 20s when I was writing House of Leaves. Now, there are a lot of authors, there's a lot of artists who basically just find their gig and then they just kind of repeat it. And then there's that painful thing that we all start to feel like, oh man, he's 60 and he's trying to write like a 19-year-old, you know? And I don't think that's very fair, you know. So I think for me, it's always a process of how I'm living my life, how this changes, you know. For the familiar, I needed an atelier. I needed people that I could work with that involved a certain amount of socializing that made me uncomfortable, you know. And I think that's something that's available to every single person, whether you're creative or not, is to allow the process of your own life to be part of what you are, you know, bringing forth for other lives. Yes?
It kind of took one of my questions, my own question, but I guess the question would be, what other things have, I guess, okay, because your books, like, you pretty much take you out of your own reality and get sucked into, like, you know, the protagonist, you know, like, little worlds and everything, and like, what kind of things, I guess, outside of, you know, just writers or other stories that you've heard, I guess, have, you know, inspired you to, like, I guess, okay, like, I've not had the pleasure yet of reading Familiar yet. I have one in my purse. I just bought it.
Big purse.
Yeah. But you know, just like just all the imagination. I've never seen a book like House of Blues, and I just if there's maybe one thing you pinpoint that just made you kind of just take a damn of, you know, like what's already been done and just kind of make it your own original, like this whole, like, I think of it as like just a whole art project in general, you know, like not just, you know, a book, just has so many, you know, so many things about it that just make it come to life.
So the question is, are my books just large art projects?
Yeah. Well, the one that he said a little bit more narrow about, like, you know, which books have inspired you.
No, I like what you're saying, because I think the reason that House of Leaves and these books have found a readership is because it's something that we all, at least the readers of those books, relate to. You know, at a certain point we're like, oh no, I want to draw this on the side, or I want to include this image, and we can see how social media is actually tracked with that, right? Like now it's much more easy to put, you know, images in a blog, or like to codify those images, and so I think just it was sort of like a thick-headedness on my part that said, no, I'm going to put a picture here. I know I'm not supposed to, or I'm going to write the text upside down, because it feels like it should be upside down, and if you turn your head this way, it's going to kind of make sense, right? You know, or this kind of color, you know, like to put red up when you're talking about blue or something like that, those kind of dissonances, all of which are becoming more evident as we study the psychology of color and how we frame things and profile things and whatnot. So, you know, I guess I did it, and I keep doing it. It's a complicated thing to do. I kick myself a lot because it's an enormous amount of work. It's very, very intense, but it's very gratifying, and it is the way I see the world and the way I hear the world.
Yeah, I just want to, I saw base my question off House of Leaves, the idea of contradiction in your work. I want to hear more about this sort of disruptive contradiction, right? So first it's like a measurement that's just slightly off, and enough, I mean, it could have been a centimeter, would have been enough to destroy like all the lawfulness that you would know. All it takes is a centimeter. Then it gets more extreme, but that centimeter opens up, you know, a door. It's almost like those Bugs Bunny cartoons where he's running down the hall and pulls out a piece of chalk at the brick wall and draws a door and then walks through it, you know. And I want to know about that sort of tension. That, I mean, I see it in Fajir Source. I haven't started Familiar yet, but I see it, you know, showing up in that sort of idea of disrupting things with sort of one thing that's off.
Right.
And do you want that effect also in the world to sort of mess up the lawfulness?
So the question of contradiction, the question is, I guess, do I purposefully put something off to kind of mess things up, right?
In the book and then for...
So I'm the guy who's looking at the engine that's running beautifully and then just drops the marble right in the... I guess it's the... You know, we have a... I mean, our mind is so limited. It's so amazing, but at the same time, it's so limited compared to the great gyres of the universes that surround us, right? And if we really just face that disruptive focus, that disruptive storm that surrounds us, that still kind of works with maybe